السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. لعل البروفيسور الإيراني الأمريكي كمران وفا يستحق كل ما فاز به من تكريمات وميداليات وجوائز، ولا سيما أخيرا وليس آخرا جائزة المصطفى للتميز في العلوم والتكنولوجيا، الجائزة العظيمة بنكهتها المختلفة. هذا الأستاذ الكبير المتخصص في الرياضيات والفلسفة الطبيعية في قسم الفيزياء بجامعة هارفارد، حيث يجري أبحاثا ويدرس الفيزياء النظرية منذ عام 1985. ولد في إيران وانتقل إلى الولايات المتحدة لتلقي التعليم العالي، وحاز البكالوريوس في الرياضيات والفيزياء من معهد ماساتشوستس للتكنولوجيا MIT، قبل أن ينتقل إلى جامعة برينستون ويحوز الدكتوراه في الفيزياء النظرية. يشتهر البروفيسور وفا عالميا بعمله الرائد في نظرية الأوتار والتكنولوجيا الرياضية اللازمة لاستكشاف هذا المجال. إنه أحد مؤسسي ثورة الازدواجية في نظرية الأوتار التي أعادت تشكيل فهمنا للقوانين الأساسية للكون. اليوم نتعرف أكثر إلى العالم المكرم كمران وفا في خاص من الداخل، العقول الجميلة. معكم زينب صفار، تابعونا. Kamran Wafa, notable Iranian-American theoretical physicist and the Hollis Professor of Mathematics and Natural Philosophy at Harvard University. Distinguished laureate of Mustafa Prize, the esteemed prize for brilliance in science and technology in the Islamic world. Welcome to Mayadeen Special Beautiful Mind, sir.
Thank you for having me in your program.
Always a pleasure to have you. To start, sir, congratulations first for this recognition. We are so very proud of you. I would like to know first, your first encounters with science. How did you develop the sense of interest in science? And how did you discover that you are a science person?
I think my first encounters with science happened when I was very young, and I didn't appreciate what I was encountering was even science. Too young to realize that. Remember looking at the moon, wondering why this beautiful, bright white spot in the sky at night is not falling down. What is it up there? What is it doing up there? Or when I was in 3rd grade, I remember my teacher was teaching us about the fact that things have 3 characteristics: width, depth, and height. And I remember asking myself, why do I have to learn 3 things? Why are there 2 things or 4 things? I was just enamored by this number. Why should it have been 3? In my primitive way, I was asking, why are we living in 3 dimensions? So these kind of questions, or which might look primitive, I think I'm not necessarily the unique kid with such questions. I think many children have such curiosities, and I think those are all...
But perhaps we don't ponder around these things as much as you did.
Perhaps, but at that time, it was just bothering me that I don't understand why. And why it bothered me, I don't know. Nobody told me you should be bothered by why the fact that you don't understand why the moon is not falling down, or why we live in 3 dimensions, or these kind of things. Why I was attracted to it, I don't know. Nobody taught me that I should be interested in, and I don't know how I got to be curious about them. All I can say, I have always been curious about
and maybe
science.
This curiosity, particularly in the field of science, is the thing that led you to the success, this incessant success in your career in science.
I think the curiosity certainly led me to study science. And the fact that I felt it's something deep about our existence, about giving more meaning for me to life. That is, as I grew more and learned more, the awe and the wonder and the amazing reality and the magical nature of what we have learned about science, or what people had learned, and I was beginning to assimilate the beautiful facts that I was beginning to learn, like
puzzles to unravel the universe.
Well, not even, well, simple, primitive, simple math puzzles I was hearing from my friends, but even more as I was getting more formalized, like the fact that in high school I was beginning to learn that the objects fall when you throw them in the sky according to very specific mathematical equations that you can calculate the path of a trajectory of a projectile. Or I was beginning to learn about special theory of relativity. And I was quite amazed that you can actually understand Einstein's theory by the reasonings involved with Euclidean geometry. So I loved Euclidean geometry, and to try to see that you can apply mathematics to understand facts about time dilation and length contractions. These are attractive.
We will talk further about this particular aspect of what you are interested in, about the relationship between mathematics and science. But string theory has always been your passion, sir. What is string theory, and what are the significant consequences of such kind of theory, and the challenges, perhaps?
So I should qualify your statement. I was not always interested in string theory. In fact, when I started doing physics, there was no formal study of string theory per se. And even as a graduate student, when I was studying my work at Princeton, string theory had not come to the forefront of physics research. There were a few people working on it, but it was not the main area of research in theoretical physics. What attracted me to string theory, and more basically my general interest in physics, has to do with fundamental laws of nature. Simply put, what makes the world tick? How do you explain all these amazing wonders in the universe? How do you explain the Big Bang? How do you explain the black holes? How do you explain the elementary particles? How do you explain all these fundamental things? I was after trying to learn fundamental rules and fundamental laws of nature, and as much as I could understand, learn why or how they fit together and what is perhaps the philosophical lessons they teach us. So basically, the interest in understanding the basics of science, the fundamental laws of nature, is what led me to study physics in general, and aspects having to do with what makes the world tick. How does the black hole work? How does the Big Bang work? Or what are the elementary particles? What are the forces between particles? Why? And how do they fit together? All this is what I was interested in. And gradually I began to learn that the thing that unifies them from the work that some physicists were doing is string theory. And in 1985, there was this beautiful calculations by Green and Shorts, the physicists who were one of the pioneers of string theory, which showed that it had some beautiful properties that people had not imagined is possible, which had some amazing internal consistency that was not expected to work, and amazingly it worked. And so this began a renewed interest in string theory, and in 1985 I began a serious study in string theory. Actually it was 1984. I began a serious study in string theory, and that was just the last year before I received my PhD in physics under the direction of my advisor, Edward Witten.
Now, you say something very important. For me, the most beautiful aspects of physics are not the complicated math equations or even the ability of predicting how things will happen. What attracts me to physics is what it teaches us about the bigger picture. The general philosophical lessons that are embedded in physical laws are what excite me. That said, sir, what's the main takeaway from your experience so far?
The fact that everything is unified. The fact that things fit together in a simple way. Simplicity, unity, and avoidance of complicated constructions, and the fact that nature at the heart of it is simple. Simple, elegant, but nevertheless totally simple. And in some sense, to me, science is like magic. But unlike regular magic, trying to explain it doesn't take the mystery away. It just adds to its spell. So to me, science is kind of an amazing magic, but a very, very beautifully designed in such a way that it doesn't lose its value, despite the scientists explaining it as much as they can. So it is what that attracts me, the enigma of science.
The enigma, yes, it's always, there's something strange, something that we need to know. What is the coolest project that you've worked on and why? So far.
It's hard to say that. I mean, perhaps the most well-known one is the calculation of the entropy of a black hole, which is the work my colleague Andrew Strominger and I did, and I think that's my most well-known work. But it's not the hardest work I did. It's by no means the work that I really sweated as much.
Yes.
So it depends on what you mean by this. I mean, there's a...
The coolest, you mean,
well,
your baby.
This one is in the black hole ones with the consequences it had, because it actually connected the work that Hawking had done in mid-1970s to some features that showed string theory not only gives a deeper explanation of what they had looked for, but actually gives you more precise information. And it took away any doubts that string theory is describing Einstein's theory of relativity combined with quantum theory in a consistent fashion. So that to me is the sense a triumph for string theory. So that in some sense is really cool, and I really am proud. But there are a few other ones that I'm really excited about. One is the noting that there is the corner of string landscape, constructions known as F theory, which I called it F theory, where you can describe certain corners of solutions to string theory equations, which have a lot of potential in describing our universe. So that's another thing that I've been very proud of, and there are many follow-ups from there, and I enjoyed it. And there's something more recent I'm working on, which is called the Swampland program. Sure. And this I initiated around, I think, 2005, and I'm continuing to work on that area, and I'm also very proud of that. So I think it's very hard to, if you have more than one son or one child, and if I ask you which one do you like most, you would not answer that. I feel the same.
Of course, that's why I said it's your baby.
Exactly, correctly put.
Dr. Wafa, allow us to stop now for a short break, and then afterwards we will continue to talk about your recognition and the Mustafa Prize, but after the break. إذا فاصل قصير ونعود، لا تذهبوا بعيدا. لعل الأستاذ كمران وفا عالم الفيزياء النظرية الإيراني الأمريكي وأستاذ الرياضيات في جامعة هارفارد قد نال عدداً من الجوائز والتقديرات لعمله في مجال الفيزياء النظرية، بما في ذلك جائزة بريك ثرو عام 2017 في الفيزياء الأساسية، وميدالية ديراك لعام 2008 من مركز عبد السلام الدولي للفيزياء النظرية. ونال أيضاً جوائز كثيرة عن إنجازاته في مجال الفيزياء الرياضية من مجتمع الرياضيات الأمريكي، فضلاً عن الجمعية الفيزيائية الأمريكية، وهو عضو في الأكاديمية الوطنية للعلوم، وكذلك في الأكاديمية الأمريكية للفنون والعلوم. اليوم يفوز بجائزة المصطفى المرموقة للعلوم والتكنولوجيا في العالم الإسلامي، وسيخبرنا في خاص من الداخل العقول الجميلة عن أهمية هذه الجائزة وهذا التقدير.
Well, it's always pleasant to hear that your work is recognized, so I was very delighted to hear about receiving the prize. I'd heard about the Mustafa Prize before receiving it, and it was delightful to receive the prize. It was a prize that emphasizes a fact that I'm very conscious of and very much dedicated to, which is the fact that science is borderless. Science has no border. It does not recognize nationality, it does not recognize religion, and it does not recognize hierarchy. This recognition in the name of the Prophet Muhammad is a testament to the fact that a quarter of population in the world today is Muslim, and the role they play in science, I hope, is commensurate with the population, which unfortunately, in my opinion, is not there yet. And so there's ways to reach the level of science that it needs to be. Of course, the Islamic world has a great tradition of science in the past, and I see no reason why the
The
science.
Islamic world, they made the science.
Why the science among the Muslims is not commensurate with the rest of the world, rest of the advanced countries. So I think this prize recognizes the role that we need to, the work that is ahead of us for trying to get there.
Today now we are filming at Perdiz Technology Park, or what they term as the Iranian Silicon Valley. How important is it for you and for other scientists, fellow scientists, the fact of networking to exchange this science and technology exchange program through Musطفى Science and Technology Foundation, to cultivate the sense of working together and exchanging knowledge?
This is a very good question. My field is not so much related to technology. However, what you just said, namely the fact that science needs communication among people, regardless of your nationality or religion, I think is the key to advancement of science. The fact that many immigrants are living abroad and contributing to science. Many people of different nationalities, different persuasions in terms of religious beliefs, etc., are living, let's say, in the US and in the West and in other countries, working towards advancement of science, is a testament to the fact that science is borderless and we can contribute. In fact, more than that, science could be a way to unify humanity, in my opinion. It's a common source of inspiration for all humanity. A very simple example, I would say, is the recent pandemic that we are all experiencing. That does not recognize nationality, it does not recognize religion, it does not recognize gender, it does not recognize anything. It affects everybody, and it reminds us of the role that science plays for the whole humanity, and the very fact that one of the main inventors of the first vaccine against the
Mr. Agur Shaheen, yes,
against this
COVID-19,
this virus, came from one of the laureates, the last laureate of the Musطفى Prize, Agur Shaheen, and you know, he's a Turkish immigrant in Germany, and you see, this shows that, you know, it doesn't have any border. The person is, whatever the background is, wants to contribute to learning, helps the whole humanity, doesn't care about who it helps. He's interested in helping everybody, and that's what it should be. Science is at the service of humanity. It reminds us we have one source, and this reminds me of a famous poem of the Iranian poet who says, "Bani Adam a'zai yekdigerand ke dar afarinesh ze yek goharand. جزوی به درد داورد روزگار نشاید دیگر عضوها را قرار." The whole humanity is one body. When one body is in pain, when one part of the body is in pain, the whole body is in pain. And to me, Musطفى Prize is a reminder of that, even though it's named after the Prophet Muhammad, which is the religion of Islam. It is also the fact that it's a gluing principle. The very fact that I'm one of the laureates who's not living in a Muslim country, and I'm getting this prize, is also a testament that it doesn't have a border. This is a borderless adventure, and I think that's the way it should be.
Sure. Having said that, sir, what is your message to the youth, to the young researchers in the Islamic world?
I think the young researchers in the Islamic world is the message for them is to follow their interests. Not to worry, not to assume that they are not on par with the best in the world. They can achieve anything they want, and nobody can tell them they cannot. And they are as good as their abilities allows them to go, as well as their belief allows them to go. If they believe that they can do it, they will do it, but they have to believe in themselves. And in my opinion, there's nothing that not only they can do, they should do, and they will do it if they have that mindset. And a message that I have, which is more than to the youth. Usually I'm asked the question, what is your message to the youth? And usually I change the question, what is your message to the people who allow the youth to pursue science? Because that to me is the key also.
Sure.
And that to me is the key to parents, is a message to parents, is a message to policymakers in these countries, to allow the youth to follow their interests. And by that, I don't mean just say, okay, you do whatever you want, you will not get any jobs, or you won't have any future. Go and do it. No, that's not what I mean.
There has to be proper planning.
Give the planning a good thought, and don't do any more than that. In other words, don't tell them do this exactly. Just let them grow like a flower. You just give them the water, the light, and the good soil. The rest they will take care of without any intervention by anybody, just like flowers. And so to me the message is the growth comes from the flower. The beauty of the flower is innate. They will do it. You don't have to work hard. It's very simple what you need to provide, very basic features. That is my message to the educators. That's my message to the policymakers. Let the youth do their job. They will do it.
Inshallah, very beautifully said. Thank you, Dr. Wafa. Allow me to ask you here something very important about your field. You have given numerous public talks on the relation between string theory, physics, and geometry. Why do you believe that math is so important and powerful in explaining the science?
That's one of the mysteries. We don't have a deep understanding why math is so powerful. I mean, to me, it's a lucky fact because I love math. In fact, I was at some point not sure if I want to study math more or physics more. To me, the fact that they come together, and in particular, in the context of my field, string theory, is a lucky coincidence. So I'm having the best of the worlds. I love math, and the deep aspects of science is explained by math. Now, it is not clear why. I mean, deep thinkers have been debating why math is so powerful. Some people like Wigner call the unreasonable effectiveness of mathematics in describing the laws as unreasonable, and that's correct. We don't know why.
Allow me to finish and wrap up this interview, this very important interview, by saying that this is what you have said, actually, sir. Physics teaches us deep facts about our universe and our place. Professor Kamran Wafa, you have added a lot to this beautiful story. Dr. Kamran Wafa, respected laureate of Mustafa Prize. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us for this Min الداخل special, Beautiful Minds.
Thank you very much. It was great being in your program.
Always a pleasure to have you, sir.
Thank you.
والشكر لكم مشاهدينا الكرام على طيب المتابعة. للتفاعل أكثر تابعونا على صفحات السوشيال ميديا. وحتى نلتقي، من كل فريق عمل من الداخل، من كل الميادين، من طهران، من واحد برديس، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.